All right, so like picture this, you walk into like this super prestigious art gallery and instead of like some world famous critic, you're greeted by a
Robot.
robot
Yeah.
analyzing brushstrokes and, spitting out judgments on these masterpieces.
Wow.
It kind of sounds like something straight out of like sci-fi, right?
It does, yeah.
Well, today's deep dive, we're going to be looking at how researchers are bringing this seemingly impossible scenario like closer and closer to reality. And we're talking about something called multimodal large language models.
Multimodal what?
Yeah, it's a mouthful.
It is.
MLLMs for short.
Okay.
Basically, these AI systems can process both images and text, so they're basically like seeing the artwork and understanding descriptions of its style at the same time.
That's pretty wild.
It is. But the question is, can they really grasp something as subjective as artistic taste? We've got a whole stack of research and expert insights to unpack today, so...
Buckle up. It's super fascinating how this research tackles this really fundamental challenge in AI. How do you evaluate art when it's so much more than just, recognizing objects or colors in an image?
Right.
Like, think about a Van Gogh painting, right?
Right.
Traditional computer vision might be able to identify sunflowers or the swirling brushstrokes, but it can't really grasp that emotional depth, the historical context, or the artist's unique style.
Yeah, that's where things get really tricky for AI, I would imagine.
Definitely.
So how do, like, human art critics even approach this? Do they have, like, some secret formula or something for judging a masterpiece?
Well, there's this method called formal analysis that art critics use to systematically break down a piece of art.
Formal analysis, okay.
Yeah. So it involves describing the visual elements in detail, connecting those to the artist's background, the historical period, and using aesthetic principles to kind of form those judgments.
So it's not just like a gut feeling.
Right. It's about building a reasoned argument based on observation and knowledge.
That's really interesting. It kind of sounds like what these MLLMs are capable of, right?
They can analyze both images and text, like I said, make connections and draw conclusions.
Exactly. And that's actually what sparked the research question. Can MLLMs be trained to evaluate art in a way that aligns with human preferences, almost like a digital art critic?
Oh, wow.
So to test this, they created a massive data set called Style Bench, which is specifically designed for benchmarking artistic style transfer.
Hold on, wait. What is artistic style transfer, and why is this data set like such a big deal?
Okay, so style transfer is basically taking one image, like say a photograph, and transforming it to look like it was painted in the style of a specific artist, like a Van Gogh or a Picasso.
Okay, like those filters you see on social media.
Exactly, but way more advanced.
Okay.
Now, Style Bench is unique because of its sheer scale. We're talking 1,000 content images and 1,000 style examples, all sourced from different places like WikiArt and even AI-generated images to reduce bias.
Wow.
And each image has detailed annotations and text prompts for more accurate comparisons.
Okay, so that's a lot of data.
It is a lot of data. But how do you even measure if like an AI is aligning with human taste? Because it's not like there's some like universal scorecard for art, right?
You're absolutely right. Human preferences are incredibly subjective.
Yeah.
So to address this, researchers use this clever method called two alternative forced choice.
Two alternative what now?
So basically, they show people two stylized versions of the same image and ask which one they prefer.
Oh, so it's like a visual taste test.
Exactly.
But with potential for some pretty heated debates, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. Sometimes people would disagree, and sometimes preferences would form these weird circular patterns. Someone might prefer A over B and B over C, but then choose C over A.
Oh, wow.
So researchers had to filter out some of these inconsistent responses, just highlighting how tricky it can be to model human taste.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Okay, so back to the AI. Did these MLLMs actually succeed in evaluating art like humans with this massive data set and this clever testing method?
Well, initial attempts using simple prompts weren't that great. The MLLMs tended to hallucinate, using subjective language and making things up, instead of analyzing the art objectively.
So they were just like throwing out opinions without backing them up.
Pretty much.
Kind of sounds like some art critics I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So researchers needed a way to guide the MLLMs to think more like art critics.
Okay, so how do they do that?
That's where ArtCast comes in.
Okay, tell me everything. What is it and how does it work?
So ArtCast is this special prompting method that encourages MLLMs to kind of break down the evaluation process like a human critic would.
Okay.
It has 3 stages.
3 stages, okay.
First, the content style analyzer describes the visual features of the stylized images, objectively focusing on things like, color schemes, brush strokes, composition.
Okay.
Then the art critic stage evaluates those features against artistic principles and relevant background information, mimicking the critical thinking of a human expert. And finally, the summarizer stage combines those insights to make a final judgment, just like a human critic would.
So basically, they're trying to train the AI to think critically and justify its opinions rather than just going with its gut feeling.
Exactly.
But does it actually work?
That's the question, isn't it? And the answer is,
Yeah.
you'll have to wait for part 2 to find out.
Oh, come on. You can't leave me hanging like that. All right, fine. But you better deliver some juicy details in the next part.
I will. Okay. Welcome back. So, are you ready for those juicy details?
Oh, you better believe it. We left off with this, big question. Does art cut actually help MLLMs judge art more like us humans?
Well, let's start with how well different methods ranked artistic styles.
Mm.
Imagine you have a bunch of algorithms that can transform a photo into a painting
Well,
in the style of, say, Van Gogh, Picasso, or Monet.
okay, so those filters you see on social media, but way more advanced.
Exactly. And we're testing which algorithm best captures the essence of that particular artist.
Yeah.
When researchers used ArtCode to guide the MLLM, it was 56% better at ranking those different stylization methods compared to just giving the AI basic instructions.
Whoa, 56%. That's a huge improvement. So art code is helping the AI make finer distinctions between styles, not just saying this one kind of looks like a Van Gogh.
Precisely. It's about understanding those nuances of each style
Yeah.
and judging how well those algorithms capture all those subtle details.
Wow.
But it gets even more interesting when we look at individual images. Remember that two alternative forced choice method.
Where people had to choose between two stylized versions of the same image, right?
Like a visual paste test.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when they used ArtCode, the MLM's judgments aligned with human preferences 29% more often compared to simpler prompts.
Okay, so 29% might not sound as dramatic as 56%, but considering how subjective art is, that's still pretty impressive.
It is.
It seems like art code is helping the AI tap into those intangible qualities that we humans find aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, and what's even cooler is that ArtKite seems to work best when the instructions are very specific. For example, if you tell the AI to create art in the style of Impressionism or Cubism, ArtKite really shines.
Oh, interesting. So the more specific the target, the better the AI performs. Why is that?
Well, think about it when you have clear guidelines, it's easier to evaluate the results.
Right.
It's like saying, I want a portrait in the style of Rembrandt versus just paint me a nice portrait.
Ah, so with clear objectives, the AI has less wiggle room for those hallucinations?
Exactly.
Like those subjective interpretations?
Yeah. It can focus on those specific elements that define a particular style.
Okay, I'm officially blown away by the potential here. But before we get too carried away, let's talk about the limitations, because no research is perfect, right? What are the challenges this technology faces?
You're right. We're still in the early stages.
Yeah.
One challenge is the data set itself. While it's large and diverse, it mainly focuses on Western art. So how well these findings translate to other artistic traditions like Eastern or indigenous art is still an open question.
So the AI might have blind spots, so to speak.
Exactly. And this highlights the need for more research with data sets that represent a wider range of artistic styles and cultural perspectives.
I see.
Another challenge is that human responses to art are so deeply personal, influenced by our emotions, memories, even our mood at that moment.
Yeah, you might love a painting one day and be totally indifferent to it the next.
Exactly.
Ah.
So how do you teach an AI to understand those intangible subjective aspects of art appreciation? That's a question for future research.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty big challenge. But even with these limitations, this research is incredibly exciting.
It is.
We're talking about AI not just creating art, but understanding it on a much deeper level.
Much deeper level, yeah.
And that opens up a whole new world of possibilities, right?
Absolutely.
Imagine AI-powered tools that help us explore different artistic styles, provide feedback on our own creations, or even connect with art in more meaningful ways.
It's very exciting.
Yeah. But I think we've explored the results enough for now. Let's take a quick break and come back to wrap things up with a look at the bigger picture, shall we?
Sounds good to me.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our AI art critic deep dive.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has exploring, these MLLMs, ArtCo, and the whole potential for AI to grasp something as complex and subjective as art.
Yeah, tons of mind-blowing possibilities.
Totally.
Yeah.
But before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to something that's been kind of nagging at me.
Okay.
It's those hallucinations we talked about earlier.
Right.
It's fascinating, but also kind of unnerving to think about an AI making these judgments about art without being able to really explain, WHY it thinks that way.
Yeah, it's a super crucial point.
Yeah.
Those hallucinations highlight the importance of guiding AI to think
Mm.
more like an art critic,
Yeah.
encouraging it to analyze reason and justify its judgments. It's not
Mhm.
enough for the AI to just like mimic human intuition or emotional responses.
Yeah, we don't want robot art critics just like declaring, this is a masterpiece without being able to say, like, why
Exactly.
that wouldn't exactly inspire a
Yeah.
lot of confidence.
No, not at all. And that's where the success of ArtCut is so significant.
Right.
It shows the power of providing this framework for AI evaluation, you know,
Yeah.
pushing it to move beyond just these subjective pronouncements and like really engage with art in a more transparent and meaningful way.
So it's not just about getting the AI to like produce the right answers.
Right.
It's about developing an AI that can like understand and appreciate art in a way that we as humans can understand and relate to.
Exactly. And that transparency is essential not just for building trust between humans and AI in creative fields,
Yeah.
but also for helping us understand like the potential and limitations of these technologies.
Totally, because art is so personal and subjective, right?
It is.
We want to feel confident that the AI is like respecting those nuances, not just like imposing its own arbitrary judgments based on cold calculations.
For sure. And that leads us to this increasingly important concept of explainable AI.
Explainable AI, okay.
It's not enough to have AI systems that can just make decisions.
Right.
We need to be able to understand how do they arrive at those conclusions.
Yeah, we got to like peek inside the black box, so to speak.
Exactly.
Makes me think of that old saying like, trust but verify.
Right.
We need to be able to verify what's going on inside these AI algorithms, especially when they're making judgments that impact, our understanding and appreciation of art.
Definitely. And the implications of explainable AI go way beyond the world of art.
Oh, yeah.
It's becoming super crucial across all sorts of fields where AI systems are making decisions that impact human lives.
Hmm.
You know,
Right.
we need to know not just what the AI is deciding, but WHY.
It's amazing to think that like our little deep dive into AI judging art has like led us to this much broader conversation about like the future of AI and its role in society.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the importance of asking these critical questions about the technologies we're developing. Do
Yeah.
we want AI to just be this black box making pronouncements without explanation?
Right.
Or do we want it to be more like a partner, working alongside us, helping us understand and explore the world in new ways?
Those are some really big questions.
They are.
And it seems like we're just starting to kind of grapple with them.
Yeah,
But that's what makes this research so exciting.
absolutely.
It's not just about creating cool new gadgets. It's about like pushing the boundaries of human understanding and exploring what it even means to be creative in an age of intelligent machines.
Yeah, and sometimes the most profound insights come from exploring these seemingly niche topics like AI judging art.
Totally. We started this deep dive wondering if AI could ever grasp something as subjective as artistic taste. And now we're like contemplating the very nature of intelligence and creativity
Wow,
and the future of our relationship with technology.
that's amazing.
I'd say this was a pretty successful deep dive.
I agree. It's been fascinating, and I hope our listeners are leaving with like a new appreciation for the complexities of AI and all the endless possibilities it presents.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder these big questions and like explore the world of art, both human and artificial. Until next time, keep those creative juices flowing and never stop questioning the boundaries of what's possible.